Hey squirrels, welcome back to ADHD. Today we are talking about my bread and butter, my near and dear to my heart topic, the beauty and mess of delegation. This is the best decision I've ever made for my life. The best decision I've ever made for my business was onboarding and hiring a VA, and not only one VA, but ultimately a whole team of VAs. If you feel like you're drowning in tasks and you just need help, but you don't know what help you need, stick around. This episode is for you. I'm going to break down basically where I was before asking for help, why it's so hard for us to ask for help, the challenges with asking for help, and then the beauty and the freedom that comes from being able to ask for that help, accept it, and delegate efficiently. If it sounds like impossible and it's a fantasy, I thought so too. And the reason that I felt that way is because that's what my life had proven to me up until that point. That when I asked somebody for help, I wasn't going to get the kind of help that I needed. Or even if I got the kind of help that I needed, it required so much effort of me to get that help from them that it almost wasn't worth it. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. And definitely a lot of neurodivergent people can relate to that concept of like people around you really want to help you. They really want the best for you. They just don't really understand you and don't really understand what you need because they've never met anyone like you before. Right? So if you are someone with ADHD, you probably have a parent who has ADHD, but they probably don't know it either. They are struggling with the same things that you were struggling with as a kid, and they don't really know how to help you. People show up for you in the best way that they can with what they have at the time. That means the resources and knowledge and expertise that they have at the time available to them. We are really lucky to live in an age of the internet where all of the information is at our fingertips. But I am maybe the second generation of parents who's had access to that. Maybe the first generation of parents who's had access to endless information at my fingertips. I know things that previous generations of parents never could have hoped to know, even if they read every single book in the library that was available to them. There's no comparison to the amount of information that we have now. All of that is to say that it makes sense that you didn't ask for help. It makes sense that you don't ask for help, and it makes sense that you've learned not to ask for help because really there hasn't been help that's been readily available to you or tailored to what you really need. People help from the place, their best place. This is what I have to give. This is the way I can help. I gave an example in a previous podcast of asking for help when you have ADHD is like asking for ice and getting water. It kind of accomplishes the same thing, but not really, because if you need one, then maybe you don't really need the other. And that's a really frustrating experience. And a lot of it from that, just not to ask for help. But that's kind of the wrong lesson, if I may be so bold. It's sort of the wrong lesson to learn not to ask for help. What we really need is to learn how to ask for help and communicate our needs in the way that makes sure that we get what we want. Right? So if you're not understanding me, why should I give up on needing things? I should just get better at communicating what I need. And this goes for all of us. This is not just people with ADHD. This communication challenge or these communication gaps could really solve 90% of our problems as a human species if we learned how to talk to each other in a way that we could all understand. Because the majority of disagreements come from miscommunication. You said one thing, they didn't hear what you intended, and vice versa. And if we could fix that, we'd fix a lot of things. Again, all of that to say, it makes sense that you don't ask for help, because asking for help can be tiring and frustrating and time consuming, but you can solve that by asking for help correctly. So picture this example. I'm sure it's happened to literally all of us. You come in from a long day, maybe you're juggling a bunch of things, maybe you're carrying groceries and you have a baby on your hip and there's another kid trailing behind you and your phone is ringing and there's just a million things going on. And you walk in. Okay, let's say mom, you walk into the house and dad is there and he says, "Hey, welcome home. How's it going?" And you say, "Can you help me with this?" And then he doesn't proceed to immediately know exactly what this means. Let's pause and see it from both sides of things. Mom is walking into the house. She's juggling a bunch of things. She has groceries. She has baby. She has a phone ringing. "Can you help me with this?" might mean any one of those things. Maybe there's one thing that's most pressing. So dad is maybe looking at the situation. He's like, okay, I want to help in the best way possible. How can I help in the most helpful way? So now there's two options. Do we get super frustrated because, like, how could you not know what I mean by this? Like, what, anything, like, help me with anything. Or do we explain a little bit further? So let's pick option one. Mom, she walks in, she has baby. There's another kid yelling behind her. Phone is ringing and she's carrying groceries. She says, "Can you help me with this?" And dad says, "Sure. What can I help you with?" And she says, "You know what? Never mind. Like, it just doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it myself." And she puts the groceries down and she takes care of the baby and she answers the phone and she goes off to take her phone call. And she's just like so frustrated that her idiot husband can't figure out what she needs help with when there's a million things going on. Option B is mom comes in, she's juggling baby and she's carrying groceries, phone is ringing, there's another kid behind you, everything's chaos, everything's a mess. And she says, "Can you help me with this?" And dad says, "Yeah, sure. What can I help you with?" And you say, "It would actually be most helpful if you grab the groceries from the car right now. I'm going to put the baby down so I can answer the phone." Now I've communicated clearly what my needs are from within my situation. I'm the only person who's living in that moment right now. I'm mom in this example because that's my life. I'm communicating what my needs are clearly from my perspective. I am the only person who's uniquely capable of communicating those needs from my perspective because I'm the only one who really knows what's going on with me right now. What if you came and you took the baby, and really it would just be a lot easier for me if you took the groceries? I can take the charge on that communication by telling you exactly how I need help. Now, some of you might be spotting the problem with this. The challenge here is I only know if I need help. I only know the help that I need, rather, once I know the help that I need. You need to have taken the time to pause and think, what help do I need right now? And it's really hard to do that in a high chaos situation. And that brings us to the main pitfall of delegation. Why don't we ask for help? Delegation is just a fancy word of saying asking someone else to do things that you don't want to do. Why do we struggle so much with delegation? For two reasons that were very clear in our example with mom and the groceries and the baby. One is improper communication, but the underlying issue beneath the improper communication is not really knowing what we need help with. How does this tie back to ADHD? When you have ADHD and your mind is moving a million miles a minute, and I do literally mean a million miles a minute, in varying different directions, doing somersaults and backflips that you maybe can and maybe cannot control, it is very difficult to stop and pinpoint what help you need in what areas specifically. If I were able to do that, I would already be helping myself. And the One of the reasons that it's so difficult for us to do that is because it requires slowing way down. You have to slow the process down to identify what is going wrong. And that's not everyone's strength. It happens to be my strength. I like to break down a process and to see what's going wrong. That's why I like to solve problems. I like to find the gap in the system. I like to solve for the gap. That's just my special skill. And then mixed with my special interest of human nature and human and psychology, you get the dazzling creature that sits before you today. But if you already have ADHD, you struggle with prioritizing tasks, you sometimes can miss the big picture, right? Like there's something going wrong or a detail that you're focused on and it can knock you off of track completely. You almost forget that things were going right in the first place. And then obviously just feeling overwhelmed by constantly juggling everything. All of those things make it especially difficult to do everything yourself, particularly impossible to do everything yourself without asking for any help and without having some really strong strategies. So as always, where does this start? It starts by knowing yourself a little bit. So last week I went away for my birthday. I took a couple of days away from my house and I rented an Airbnb to just kind of have some peace and quiet. And I really enjoyed it. And I even took the day off for my birthday and I didn't work, which is almost unheard of in my life. And I just read a book and went to the pool and did absolutely nothing. And then when it was time to come home, I already struggle specifically with transitions. That's a really big struggle for me. When it was time to come home, I had to kind of decide what I was going to prioritize that morning. And it became really difficult for me to do something that I wanted to do. I wanted to go to my kids' school to be there for them about something and be there for a particular event that they were having. And it became just almost impossible to get there. And like, it was just stressing me out and really wasn't working for me. And I was getting more and more and more overwhelmed. And I was just feeling like a complete and total failure. Like, how could it be that I'm not going to be there for my kids on this very critical school assembly they were having or whatever unimportant thing was going on that day? And that I was going to be late for work and I was trying to figure out how I could stretch myself and how I could make it happen and how I could be here and there all at once. And it was just like so overwhelming. Like I was undoing all of the relaxation that I had the day before by feeling like a complete and utter failure. And if I hadn't taken the day off yesterday, that I would be a little bit more prepared today. And I should never have taken that time off. And I just started spiraling. And then I remembered that I decided to give myself a break the day before. That everything that I was doing was within my own choice and within my own control. And that nothing was such a big deal. Anything could happen tomorrow. If it gets pushed off until tomorrow, it's okay. I go to 80% of my kids' things at the school. That's pretty good. If I didn't make it to this one, they'll understand. It's not worth stressing yourself out and pulling yourself in a million different directions. But how often do we do that to ourselves? Just expecting ourselves to do everything and manage everything and have control of everything all the time, as if we're capable of doing infinite things and just juggling a million plates, keeping all the plates in the air all the time. It's not possible. And for me, the true pivoting point was when I hired my first virtual assistant. Because I hired somebody and the job description was to be my second brain, which is not really a job description, as HR informed me. But that's what I needed. I needed somebody who was going to kind of be like the basket. Like, the visual that I have in my mind is, when like you're like, I'm talking directly to my millennials here. Sorry if you're not. In 10 Things I Hate About You, when they're playing golf off of the bleachers and the guy is running underneath with the basket trying to catch the golf balls as they're falling into the football stadium. That's what I need. When I'm launching golf balls, I need somebody who's going to catch them no matter what direction they're going in and no matter how quickly they fall. And I found somebody who was able to do that for me. And it took a lot of time to trust that person, even though I'm an all in kind of a person. Like, I will go all in with you from day one, but really, 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 I'm actually withholding quite a bit. Really, 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 I'm waiting for you to prove yourself so I can give you more and more responsibility. And that person started with me a year and a half ago, 2.5 years ago, and is still part of my company today as a special projects person and as our own personal cheerleader and advisor behind the scenes when we need her. But what I was able to do was figure out what overwhelmed me. And I had the luxury of doing that in sort of like a trial and error way, where I would just sort of pay attention to the things that I was procrastinating on. If there was something that I was pushing off, why was I pushing it off? And if I kept pushing it off, well, do I need to be the person who does this, or is there someone who can do it better? And then if there is someone who can do it better, am I holding on because there's a good reason for me to hold on tightly, or because I'm scared of losing control? And that same process repeats itself over and over and over and over and over again, morning till night, every day. What am I procrastinating on? What is going on here? Do I have to be the person who's doing this? Yes or no? If I feel like I have to be the person doing this, okay, why am I the person who has to do this? Is there somebody better than me at this particular job? And if my answer is no, am I saying that because there really isn't anyone better than me, or because I'm scared of losing control? That is way easier said than done. I can't even explain how much easier said than done that is. But that's essentially how you learn how to delegate. And what I found when I hired my first VA, shout out to Faye, is that I was able to delegate almost anything. You can outsource literally almost anything. Because the reason that I found that I wasn't asking for help most of the time was because it seems stupid to ask for help. Why should I need help with that? Or it doesn't really take that long. Let me just do it myself. That kind of rhetoric and internal dialogue. And a really good way to overcome that is to pay the person that you're asking to help you. I'm paying you. That means that I can ask you for any type of help in the entire world, and you literally have to do it because that's your job. So I started giving them everything. And I mean everything. Starting with organizing my email and clearing out an inbox that had thousands and tens of thousands of emails in it, and color coding everything and labeling everything, and clearing out the docs on my Google Docs and on my personal computer, and sorting through my bills and my finances to keep things straight, and managing communication with my kids' school so that nothing fell between the cracks. They planned my child's birthday party from abroad. Everything just showed up when it was time for the party. And they did it in like a week and a half or 2 weeks because obviously I was running behind with everything. Laundry schedules, cleaning schedules, meal plan, any idea that I had, any task that I had, anything that they could do to make my life easier, she did. Anytime I had an idea about something and I kind of wanted to research it, but then I got distracted by something else, she was there to remind me. And I cannot tell you the immense weight that is off of my shoulders. And the way that it allowed me to feel transferred from, oh, why can't I do this? Oh, why can't I do this? To, oh, Faye can do it. And I say, oh, because obviously I forgot every single time that I had someone to help me, even though this is what I do all day, every day. And this is what I teach people how to do. I forget every day that I have somebody available to help me. Every time a task pops into my head, 4 million times a day, I think, okay, how am I going to do that? And then I have to consciously remember and remind myself there is somebody better who better suited than you to complete this particular task. And then I delegate it to them. And then I move on to the next thing and the next thought that pops into my head. And if a bunch of things pop into my mind all at once, I say them all or I write them all down and then I send them off to their various people who can help me with it. How can a VA help you in your life? I am a firm believer that everyone needs a VA. Maybe not needs. Everyone who needs a VA should have a VA is actually a better way of saying that. Because obviously it's a tremendous luxury, but it is so mutually beneficial in our multicultural world to have the ability to rely on each other's strengths and weaknesses across the globe. There is somebody willing, ready, and able to help you who just needs a little bit of guidance, who just needs a little bit of direction, and they can help you accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. They can be a full extension of yourself. You can clone yourself overnight. But better than cloning yourself, you can fill in the gaps of your own weaknesses. For me, that's organization, scheduling, time management, admin, all of that stuff. And not only in my business and in my work life, but also in my personal life. It eases the pressure and clears your mind. Yes, it's true. We can't focus because we have ADHD. And those of us with ADHD are particularly disadvantaged. But I'm now talking to everybody. None of us can focus because we're doing too many things at once. We are focused in too many different places all at once. We are being pulled in too many different directions. There are too many expectations. Life is hard. And there are ways of getting help. Now, I know a bunch of you are probably saying, okay, that's really nice, but that must be like a super luxury. Who can even afford this? And actually having a VA can be a lot more affordable than you think. There are virtual assistant companies that offer hour banks and smaller packages that can literally fit any price point. You could go and find your own VA and hire them directly, not through an agency, and save a tremendous amount of money. The most important thing is just knowing how to communicate with them and knowing how to work seamlessly with somebody to communicate your needs effectively. So it's not actually that expensive. It can be as much as $20 an hour, $35 an hour, $100 an hour, depending on the task that you need done. And if you're hiring directly, it can be as low as $5, $6, $7, or $8 an hour. For somebody who you need a little bit more expertise, maybe it's a little bit higher. Maybe it's something like $10 an hour. The same as your coffee, the same as a number of different luxuries, the same as your Chick-fil-A, the same as your McDonald's, the same as everything. Everything costs $8 now. And 1 hour a day can literally change your entire outlook on your day. 1 hour a day means having your email sorted and your schedule prepared for you. That can be massively life-changing. Just to have somebody come through and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Make sure that I didn't miss any critical emails. Make sure that I didn't miss any communication from my kids' school. Having somebody come through and sweep behind you and just make sure. That allows you to relax a little bit. It lessens the pressure that you have from those tasks because there's somebody who's who has your back. If you're thinking that it's not worth it, I might as well just do it myself. Nobody's going to do it as well as I can, anyways. I know the way that I like it. You only have 24 hours in a day. That's the amount of time that you have in a day. 84,600 seconds, right? That's the amount of time that you are allocated every single day. And you can spend that time doing everything by yourself, or you could not. And honestly, genuinely, for real now, do you think that that voice that is telling you that there is nobody who can do it as well as you, is that ego, or is that voice coming to protect you and serve you? Because I don't see how insisting on doing everything yourself could ever come to serve you as a human. Oh, yeah, you should do it all by yourself. You should be able to do it alone. You might as well isolate. You might as well just not trust anyone to ever do anything. We are social creatures. We need other people to help us. Allow somebody to help you. And don't let your ego stand in your way and ruin your life. I could go on and on and on about VAs, and I definitely will in the future. If you guys have any questions about how a virtual assistant has helped me or how they can help you, if you want to jump on with me and like do a real life audit of your life, a delegation audit, and see how and where other people can help you, I would love to do it. Reach out to us, reach out to my team. That would be incredible. That's kind of a dream come true for me. In the upcoming episodes, we're going to keep talking about working smarter and not harder. And we're going to keep talking about delegation because it's such a massive topic. I could never, ever tackle it in 1 week. And if I could leave you with anything, I'm going to leave you with this. Please don't do everything alone. Please take some time to intentionally identify the areas in your life where you need help and the people who can help you in those areas, and ask for help. Maybe you could trade. Maybe you can barter. Maybe the thing that you're really good at is something that someone else is really bad at. Trade skills. Don't do it alone. It's lonely that way. It's not necessary. And if you don't know who can help or what can help, we can help. Reach out to me. Reach out to my team. We can help you. We can help you identify ways of identifying help in your life. And until next time, I appreciate you so much for being here. And please follow along and subscribe. See you next time.